scaring humans rather than eating them. Plus, I get my nutrition elsewhere. If I or the other spiders eat up all the humans in the world, there'd be no one else to scare for thrills! And that just won't do for me.
Sorry, names carry trust, and trust is a luxury I can't afford anymore. Too many people I considered close friends have backstabbed me already, and I don't need you on that list.
Hello, I'm CSK, better known as Loop de Loop, or Loop for short. I use he/they pronouns, and I voice Mindy the spider and Yabby the zombie. In my spare time, I'm an artist, storyteller, and singer. This project was actually my first time voice acting and the first ever major role that I've gotten. I originally come from community theater, which is where I started my acting career, and I also really enjoy comics and video games. I heard about the project through Discord. It looked really well put together and organized, so I decided to give it a shot. I'd actually seen the character designs when I was younger, like on the internet and stuff, but I had no idea that they were part of like a larger project like Mob Talker. It's been really cool to get to be a part of this project. It's been such a good experience, and I feel incredibly honored I get to work on it.
Mindy! Oh, I love her. She's this absolute menace that screws with people and like does as she pleases, and I personally love that for her. One of my favorite character archetypes are like characters that are like kind of menaces or like kind of assholes, but they have like this good heart to them. And I think you can see that in her and like her arc with her sister and all that. I also happen to have a sibling, and we also happen to just be polar opposites, much like Mindy and Cindy. So that was also ended up being like a point of connection to the character that I had. I listened to a lot of Riot Girl when trying to figure out her character. It has this loud, rebellious, energetic, in-your-face energy that I think really ended up suiting her. The only real challenge was keeping up that energy consistently. Yabby, my boy! For some reason, I always get the urge to, like, shout his name in, like, a dude bro voice. I don't know why. His name just really lends into well into that. Anyway, he's cool. I like him. He's this, like, stoic, grounded guy that doesn't really remember where he came from. And I feel like he starts off the story, like, kind of just wandering through life now that he doesn't have the village anymore. He's pretty much the total opposite of Mindy in execution, and a character type I didn't think I'd really get to play. In preparation, I ended up watching a movie called Warm Bodies. I didn't end up taking that much inspiration from it, as it didn't really fit the character, but I think it ended up bleeding through a little bit anyway. Yabby has this dry sense of humor, and I ended up giving him just this pinch of sass and this flat kind of bordering on gravelly tone. I can definitely see just like a little bit of R in him, I think. The hardest thing was getting his voice down right, because it's almost slightly too low for me, and I was having a lot of trouble trying to find a voice that like I was happy with, and that I think fit the character, and that was also like I was able to actually act in, because too low and it just sounds terrible. I don't know if it's possible with how the mod works. I don't know anything about how it's programmed, but I would have loved to seen some of the characters get to interact with each other on screen. In particular, I would have loved to have a scene of Mindy and Cindy confronting each other, or Yabby getting to reunite with his villager buddies. I've always admired voice acting, even from a young age, but I actually got into it because of theater. I really enjoy getting to perform and playing characters, but there aren't many theaters close to where I live. And due to life things, I can't always make the commute to the ones farther away. Since I can do voice acting from home, it's a lot more accessible to me than other forms of acting. At the moment, it's just a hobby, but I'd love to do it as a career someday. Ironically enough, I have a bunch of speech problems. In particular, I have a bad habit of slurring my words and talking way too fast. I can also be a bit of a perfectionist, which means it can take a bit before I'm truly satisfied with a take. Okay, I have about 3 points to give. Number 1, unless you're already starting at an 11, give about 30 to 40% more energy to your performance. If it's too much, you can always bring it down, but more often than not, that extra boost is exactly what you need to bring a character to life. Number 2, if you're going to put resources into anything, invest in soundproofing. It doesn't need to be fancy or expensive, it just needs to work. Personally, I use a blanket fort that I make out of a quilt, a chair, a music stand, and my closet door for my sound booth. It has its complications, but it gets the job done. Number 3, practice your diction and timing. Some people practice with tongue twisters, others read books aloud. I've even heard of people dramatically speaking out song lyrics.
Whatever method works for you, be sure to practice this. I struggle with this, as you can probably tell. Be better than me. I know you can do it. While these points alone aren't necessarily the be-all end-all of voice work, they can help a lot in the long run. Oh, and my final tip is don't forget to have fun and be yourself. Which seems a bit ironic considering it's acting, but it's more important than you think. Thank you so much to everyone for your interest and support, and especially thanks to CPU Black Soul for letting me be a part of this project, and for being very patient with my slow process. I appreciate it. If you want to find me other places, I have a Casting Call Club account, and while I don't use it for voice acting, I have an Instagram where I post my art. My socials are all usually under the same name, loop-de-loop. That's loop_da_loop. Thank you again for watching, and I hope y'all are enjoying the mod. Have a nice day!